How to play Dear Mr. Murdoch by me, Grant Sharkey. Hi, I'm in Guernsey. Okay, so when you're going on stage and you're about to play Dear Mr. Murdoch, the first thing you have to do is acknowledge the venue for being a place where art can happen on that stage. It doesn't have to be songs about cocks. That's basically it. You can put art on there, and art is a great way of conveying information, as are jokes. And with Dear Mr. Murdoch, you are conveying a piece of information. Obviously, before you start, you've got to talk about Rupert Murdoch a little bit. You've got to set up the context a little bit. You've got to talk about the fact that, you know, he's for 40 years he's essentially been just a bit of a bastard to the UK and to the rest of the world. Essentially, if you look at America as well, and you have to realise that in every audience there might be some people who might be offended by you attacking him in some way. So I've played the song a couple of hundred times now to people, to quite big crowds, and I ask people, can you defend Rupert Murdoch by putting your hands up? Not one hand has gone up so far, but that doesn't mean it won't happen at your gig. So when you're playing this song, remember to ask the audience if anyone wants to not hear a song about Rupert Murdoch's home address in London. Get them to raise their hands so you can get them removed from the building and get them safely back to their Top Gear box sets. Okay, so obviously, like I say, you're giving out an address. The best thing about Rupert Murdoch's home address in London is the fact that it's in 3/4, which actually defined the way the song was going to be written. So I chose C just because C was there. But it's a little waltz essentially, and it's also a letter, because what else do you do with an address? You write a letter. That's the way it works. So on that sort of first sort of sit down writing session, I realised it's a waltz and it's going to be in C, which is, you know, this is great. This is going to be a lovely song. The other thing to do is remember that it's because it's a letter. You don't start it off angry. I know you're raging about things like Hillsborough, the phone hacking, blah, 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 blah. I'm raging about the fact that on the 7th of February 2016, he said, during the presidential campaign debates, he said, all really failed to understand the immensity of the global Muslim problem. No easy answers. The Middle East is just a front runner for sub-Saharan Africa. That's the sort of thing he just said. He just tweeted that. He just said it out loud, and everyone has got like 124 likes or something like that. So it's like, global Muslim problem? Okay, right, so, you know, he just says stuff like that. I just consider him to be a bit of a divisive prick. That's the way it is. So I wrote this letter to him. It's like I say, it's in C, it's a little waltz. It starts off with the C octave. One of my favourite chords is any note on the E string with its 10th added on. You can play it with your thumb if you want to, or you can play it in a traditional position if you like, with the thumb on the back. C, and then it's a G, 10, and it's a C, it's an F with a 10th, C with an E and a 10th, that's quite a nice one, and then F10, G10, repeats that, and then at the end of each verse is just two chords. One of them's a G, which is G held down there with the open D and the open G, and then there's the other one which is an E, which is E, another E and a G sharp. So put them together. I quite like it. That's just a natural country lick. If you haven't learned that as a bass player yet, you know. There's, just to get you back to the C, that's all that's there. So the first two verses are essentially just part of the letter, sort of explaining that you're breaking up with him. That's sort of what the song's about. It's after the Brexit debate, I realised that he should probably go too. Yeah, so I ended up thinking, well, if we write a letter to him, we're going to be angry, but you've got to start it nicely. You've got to start it quite sweetly. And so you need to make sure it has all the right emotion for the audience when you're first playing it, because if some people might be on the fence about Rupert Murdoch, which is understandable, they might not read the papers or something like that. They might not see the influence he's having on the entire planet. So you know, they might just be like, well, what's this about? You've got to kind of get them on board emotionally as well. So the first verse is just run through it once as a little intro, get people used to the meter and the measure. Dear Mr. Murdoch, we appreciate you busy. I hope you'll forgive me, but I just had to write this letter to you to tell you that we're through. We don't think it's good to have you hanging around in our lives. Just go and don't make a fuss. We'll be fine, don't worry about us. So in that first verse, you're also trying to say to him, look, if you're going to go, don't, because I have a feeling he's slightly emotionally, and you know, I'm feeling if you actually broke up with him, he'd probably be a bit of a ragey, stalky sort of guy, okay, and it'd be like, yeah, but what about you? You won't survive without me and all that. You just have to reassure him, we'll be absolutely fine without you in our lives. We'll be okay. We can look after ourselves. So just saying, you've got to make that clear. You know, it's part of a breakup is to sort of, you have to break up basically, so then we go into the second verse. For 40 years or more you've been inside us, now we're sore. I mean seriously, just look at us, our country's a wreck. Financially you've extorted us, psychologically you've tortured us. If you loved us, you'd tell us to get out of this mess. So we're climbing out of this hole, climbing out from under your control. Just go, believe. Believe was actually the headline on the day of the Brexit vote. They wrote "Believe in Britain," and I just thought it'd be quite funny to tell Rupert Murdoch to believe Britain. So that's just a little joke. I find it really funny. No one else has ever laughed at that song, that joke. Right, so then you get into the middle eight, which is on the double bass. I play it here with a D and a third and a C. But I actually wrote it on a bass guitar, so I played it up here with my 10th chords. So it goes, and it's up to the D again, and then it's a C, and then it's a D, and it's a D sharp, and then it's an F. And then it's back into sort of getting ready for the third verse. So those words are, you could take some time off, now you're 85, go out on the balcony, look up to the sky, the shimmering starlight twinkles in your eyes as you slowly realize every son must die. Make sure you do an Australian accent there. Otherwise people won't know it's him, realising that the sun will die. The other thing to do is, obviously you're just about to get into the point where you're about to give out the address and stuff like that. Some people, you've got to prepare yourself at the end of this song to have a conversation with the audience about what people might send him. So remember this part. So identify the people who are really excited about hearing this address, because they will come up to you afterwards and say, you know what, I'm going to send a poo or something like that. And you go, okay, fine, not a problem. But that's not what it's for. It's just a piece of information for the public to know where he lives, because he seems to have been hiding it a little bit. That's all it is. That's the only reason why I'm giving out, because information is one of the things we should really care about and protect. And so prepare yourself for the fact that, I love the fact that in Cardiff a guy came up to me, a really drunk guy, and said, "Hey Grant, it's only illegal to send a human poo to someone twice." Because the first time was absolutely fine. It was just an honest mistake. So obviously that is also the wisdom of a drunk guy in Cardiff. So maybe not. Don't believe me on that one. So right, you're just about to get into the third verse. You've just told him, every son must die. And you're back into the little waltz. believe. You spent a lot of money, you spent a lot of time keeping your London address out of sight. You wouldn't have to do that, you wouldn't have to hide if you'd taken the time to treat us alright, but you didn't. And this is what you get, a bunch of songs laced with your address. Let the laugh happen there because people love that bit. And then really pull in the waltz on this bit for when you get in there. For instance, in the penthouse in 26 St James's Place, London SW1A1NH, a man and a woman stand face to face. Wendy and Tony lovingly embrace. That's a little sort of emotion poke for him to the fact that his third wife allegedly, Wendy Deng, allegedly had an affair with Tony Blair, probably in that flat. But you wouldn't have heard about that because Tony Blair is actually the godfather of Rupert Murdoch and Wendy Deng's 2 children. Yours sincerely, Grant Sharkey, or whatever. You've got to finish on that. Finish with a nice C chord, but don't say Grant Sharkey, say your own name when you're performing this song. So yeah, so you just got to sort of get that out of the way, and then steel yourself for that conversation with the audience, okay? Because they're going to come up with all sorts of things. That, you know, they're going to. Let's face it, every audience is a creative, massive of human brains. So they're going to absolutely go to town with it. They're going to love playing with the idea of what they might send Rupert Murdoch or whatever. That's not, again, why I did it, but that just seemed to be a side effect of this song. So yeah, we'll play the song all the way through, and then we'll get out of here. I've been Grant. Thanks very much again for watching this one. Thanks for all the comments on the Spoons video as well. That was really good fun. Even airport security at Southampton Airport. I was walking through the metal detector, and the guy goes, "Love the Spoons video, man." So thanks very much for enjoying that one. So this is why I did this one. So here's Dear Mr. Murdoch in full. Dear Mr. Murdoch, we appreciate you're busy. I hope you'll forgive me, but I just had to write this letter to you to tell you that we're through. We don't think it's good to have you hanging around in our lives. Just go and don't make a fuss. We'll be fine, don't worry about us. For 40 years or more you've been inside us, now we're sore. I mean seriously, just look at us, our country's a wreck. Financially you've extorted us, psychologically you've tortured us. If you loved us, you'd tell us to get out of this mess. So we're climbing out of this hole, climbing out from under your control. Just go, believe. You can take some time off, now you're 85. Go out on the balcony, look up to the sky. The shimmering starlight twinkles in your eyes as you slowly realize every son must die. It's not quite an Australian accent, but we'll do. Believe. You spent a lot of money, you spent a lot of time keeping your London address out of sight. You wouldn't have to do that, you wouldn't have to hide if you'd taken the time to treat us alright, but you didn't. And this is what you get, a bunch of songs laced with your address. For instance, in the penthouse in 26 St James's Place, London SW1A1NH, a man and a woman stand face to face. Wendy and Tony lovingly embrace. Yours sincerely, Grant Sharkey.